How can I be so certain that the old masters, Vermeer included, didn't use optics to make their pictures? Optics mean lens technology, like the camera obscura, where an image is projected onto a screen, or a mirror or a prism is used so that the picture can be traced. First, an optical theory to account for old pictures is unnecessary. All the technical features of Renaissance and Baroque pictures can be explained by the conventional studio method of drawing and painting. Following Greco-Roman exemplars, the old masters adored beautiful proportions in dynamic bodies and were consummate draftspeople. They could judge and record the proportions of things, the calibre of light striking them, and could even imply the atmospheric conditions around them, the very humidity of the skin. Second, artists from antiquity to pre-modern period depicted figures in action. It's impossible to use any optical system to show figures in movement, such as you see in Botticelli, Titian, Caravaggio, Gentileschi, Poussin, Rubens, let's say pretty much most Baroque and Renaissance artists. You can't trace a moving figure because the person will have shoved off and your clumsy marks for the foot will no longer apply to the knee. To visit a theory of optics on some Baroque genius, it's necessary to target an artist who paints people who are stock still, typically Vermeer as the victim, though not de Hoogh or any number of other masters of fabulous talent, though lesser fame. Third, it's unlikely that artists use lenses because lenses warp a scene. Even if this telephoto lens, the lines aren't quite straight. The bulges increase the shorter is the focal length. Unless a line runs through the centre of the field, it will bow. Lenses twist plumbline because it's their way of putting 3 dimensions into 2. According to Philip Steadman, Vermeer's preferred viewing angle is around 45 degrees, which equates with a lens of medium focal length that's sure to produce curvature in peripheral lines. So if you relied on the lens, you'd have to correct its error. How odd to use this unwieldy device that forces you into a mistake that you're subsequently going to have to rectify. All Renaissance and Baroque artists have straight verticals and horizontals. Fourth, what possible use could a lens be to any artist who knows how to draw? To speed things up? Well, not really. Using a camera obscura is gauche, denying the perception of spatial relations and forcing the artist to work in isolated bits, every atom alienated from each other, which is slavish, atmospherically null, disjointed, and therefore poetically unrewarding. Fifth, old master paintings are layered, and the process of constructing them took weeks and months. If the technology is only good for plotting or tracing the lineaments of fixed objects, it would only have applied to the very early and minor stages of the project. The meaningful and poetic phase of modelling with colour, where artists control warm and cool hue to express the volumes and presence of things, is not served by any tool. Optics can only be useful for routine and easy stuff for an artist of any calibre, and meanwhile they're of no use for the difficult stuff, the atmospheric management of modelling and layered techniques. And finally, optics yield distortions that would have to be fixed by redrafting anyway. The theories of optics steadily gain ground as the fortunes of drawing decline. In the 1950s, by which time many artists had lost interest in drawing, Lawrence Gowing promoted the view that Vermeer's pictures have photographic qualities best explained by use of the camera obscura. He noted with a girl with a pearl earring that there's a shade on the edge of the nose that's missing. He describes the absence of a line. He thought that this illusion of nose and upper cheek makes the picture photographic and optics dependent. Well, of course, there's no line. The girl faces the light and the furthest plane of the nose aligns with the skin behind it. That's good painting. You don't put a line in unless you can see it. In The Lace Maker, one observes that some threads are indistinct. They're actually remarkably detailed, but even if they were a bit fuzzy when artificially enlarged, it's nothing new. There are grainy and coarse details in painters from Titian to Rembrandt, and assuredly they aren't explained by optics, but the deftness of a master. The most extreme proofs of optics, again always in Vermeer, come from Prof. Philip Stedman, who believes that he can accurately measure the room where Vermeer did many of his pictures. On the strength of these dimensions, he asserts that the viewpoint corresponds to the size of the paintings, determining beyond doubt that the pictures were cast by a lens on the back wall. Stedman's method is dubious. First, most of the pictures are they're similar size, around 70 centimetres, and the differences between their widths are only a few centimetres. So Vermeer used similar work practices with many pictures. Can one really establish with such accuracy what the measurements of the original scene were, given that walls often lack reference and the furniture moves? A couple of degrees in latitude in the view will have significant implications for the size of the picture. Stedman finds the correspondence between view and canvas size in 6 paintings, but admits that there are others from the same room that are not included. This selectiveness doesn't prevent him from saying that it would be a mighty coincidence if the proportions weren't explained by optics. Well, yes, a coincidence when you eliminate from your sample all the instances that don't correlate. Is that really scientific? Besides, the diagrammatic exercise rather proves the reverse, because the apex is at random distances from the wall, thus proving, if you rely on any aspect of this geometrical witchcraft, that a booth with a lens fitted to the outer wall was not used. All the apices are at different distances from the wall. Finally, Stedman discovers that there are nice gradations in a wall receiving lateral light and imputes this subtlety to optics. But scrubbing a wall from light to dark is actually easy, and artists had been doing it since Carpaccio's day. It's proof of nothing but drawing. To suggest that command of tone is a distinguishing feature of optics is illogical. Apart from Hockney's secret knowledge, the optics case was further popularised by Tim's Vermeer, a beguiling film which showed a clever use of mirrors capable of yielding an image like Vermeer's. If I understand the technique correctly, it means that you can't simultaneously see the motif and the part of the canvas that you're painting. You have to work always at the edge of the mirror to match colours. This labour of colouring in has all the atomising defects already described. Further, it presupposes an opaque technique where what you see is just the last stroke applied, rather than a layered technique of transparent glazes, which is how Baroque painters achieved their moody, luminous pictures. The various optical methods proposed are a grotesque satire of painting, like something out of Jonathan Swift. They underrate the faculty that artists of great or modest talent shared, namely drawing. The more we lose our grip on the concept of drawing, the more these improbable theories of optics take hold. There's nothing in Vermeer or any other Baroque painting that can't be explained by standard studio practice at the time. Vasari said that one shouldn't use any measure other than the judgment of the eye. But because now we're so far from that tradition where people scarcely know what drawing is, we scramble in our theories for a reassuring mechanical substitute. You'll never find it in technology. The secret of the old masters is drawing itself.